Hey guys, how's it going? So I've finished the initial animation of this simple node system that I'm going to show you. This is just for illustration purposes to give you an idea, a visualization of how some of this works. I'm going to do more complex ones, more accurate, more complex ones, hopefully in 3D and not trying to just show you what it is, and that way we can I can show you a lot more. But for now, I think it's really clear at how you can start with these very simple forms, these field forms, like how fields are made, and I'm talking about physics fields, not grass in the field, although I like that, fields and streams, I'm all for that. But the fields, okay, so here's the deal. I'm a field guy. In physics, there's fields and particulates, particles. Particles are like a hangover from evolution. Like, they don't exist in reality. It's just stupidity that animals do in order to survive. It's like this stick here, you see? Piece of wood. Oh, look, it's not moving. It's just a single thing. No, there's atoms, molecules. There's all sorts of shit happening inside of this. We're just not seeing it, because we don't need to know these things in order to survive and thrive on the earth. So we don't need anything other than that to survive on earth. So we don't need to know that there's things moving on it. So it's a hangover from evolution that we think particles are a thing, when in reality they don't exist at all in the universe. There is nothing disconnected from everything else. It's just a fiction that's arrived at through maths or mathematics, which is a language. And the same way I can say something like, oh goddamn, look, there's a 1,000-foot man over there, and it's just completely a lie. There's no man that's 1,000 foot over there. That's ridiculous. But I can say it because the language allows me to do that. And that's what language is. It's a symbology form that lets you create things that don't exist, no matter what the language, whether it's a number-based language like maths, or a word symbol language like English. They're just fictional things. They're not real. Particulates, and they're not real because you can sort of fake it in math. So the particulates guys are really are strong right now, and that's mainly because they figured out a way to create better bombs in World War II, the nuclear bombs and stuff, and because of that they got a lot of funding and they get a lot of attention. So like the particles, it's a stupidity hangover from evolution that doesn't exist in reality. Alright, so what we're seeing here is some interesting things. Okay, so this simple node field system, this is how fields are. The time environment, it's constantly moving. Like, if you're going to look at the universe, if you're going to describe it, you have to describe something that's constantly in motion. You cannot base anything on stuff that don't move. It's just ridiculous. So this part of the environment, the time environment, like the quantum guys and I need to get together and hash some stuff out, but they're egomaniacs, so we'll wait for a little while for that. So anyways, as you can see, the basis for the fields are like something that goes out to the infinite and then comes back to the infinitesimal pretty much at the same time, like concurrently. And though, like, some of you might go, what, infinite and infinitesimal, what the hell, what is that? If you ever study calculus or differential equations, you'll understand, like, we have a thing in maths called limits, and infinite, infinitesimal are common limits we use to describe various objects and processes in reality. And the limits, of course, they don't necessarily have to be the infinite or infinitesimal, which is super small, and infinite super large. It could be like, something like 3,000 to -1, or like 5 to 6. Like, the limits can be different things. So these limits are infinite to infinitesimal. And if you look at this one, which is just an infinite, it's just like say a field or sphere constantly just expanding, it's not much there. This one would be one that's going like straight down to the infinitesimal. Whatever, these are two things. It's not like there's two separate things. No, it's like this basis of the time environment. A node is something that's doing this concurrently. Alright, so it's expanding out and it's contracting all at the same time as a field, and this can be considered some alarms there. This could be considered the basis for the time node. This is a basic time node. This is how we would describe it in order to apply maths and other things to it. Alright, so we have this, okay? So what happens is, let's just deal with a planet like, say, Earth. At the center of the planet, you know, like, what happened there? What created that planet? Well, the planet, like, you know, we have the sun, which exerts its own field through its own time nodes onto this space where the planet is. What happens is, it's kind of similar to what happens in chemistry when you're trying to create something, a compound or a molecule, and what you need is a nucleation site, right? You need this one little particle, one molecule where the process will start and grow from. And that's exactly what's going on with mass and gravity. So, like, you get some nodes coming together. When you get these little nodes all flowing together, and they're constantly moving together, right? So when they flow together, they start binding at the core, at the infinitesimal place, right? At the infinitesimal, they bind, they get together, and they go back out again. It sort of brings everything into it, right? At the same time they're going out. So this process is how sort of mass and gravity come about. I'm going to delve deeply into mass and gravity with this hypothesis or thesis. I'm going to do that in the future. Right now, I just want to show you how different field shapes or different shapes can come about from interfering or interacting, from these time nodes interacting with each other in motion. Like, you'll see, like, I'll describe it when I'm in the computer to show you, but, like, as you can see, like, you know, the going out to infinite to infinitesimal, when you put those together, it's different than just looking at them separately, right? And when you put, like, when a couple of nodes get together real close, as they're moving, you can see sort of like how you get that elongated ellipse out of it that creates fields. And then if you get some nodes coming into the center of this big huge center node, which is what happens at the center of our planets, with all these nodes converging, that's, you know, it becomes kind of like a nucleation site for these time nodes, and they just stay there. So, and they're just constantly flowing in there. And this is kind of how we see fields, right? The magnetic field, when we see it, we visualize it as sort of like that torus shape coming in to the planet, like that. And when you look at this simple, extraordinary simple animation, you can see how when you start adding into, like, different nodes all flowing in, we start seeing that shape of the field, you know, of the magnetic field. It starts coming out. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things in there that I'm going to get into, because, like, I want to be able to build structures in the physical world through these little time nodes, you know. So I'll be doing that in the future, but for now, I just really hope that this is a little bit better, or a lot better explanation than those flash animations I did with Dr. Okino's sculptures, I don't know, over 10 years ago, you know, primitive stuff. And this is a more accurate picture of it in your minds. I'm going to come back to it. I just really needed to get this out there. I've got so many projects on the go that I need to get to in order to get out of the situation where I am, which is no media exposure, being called the devil. And, you know, I've got idiots in the State Department or wherever it is. I'm going to find that guy, you know, when he said the Wuhan thing. Well, we were looking at either the lab or a supernatural origin. They mean me. They're fucking idiots. You have no idea. Like, the world's full of, like, morons. And it seems that a lot of people hate smart people because you can't compete with us. So you like to engage in sort of like negative behaviors. Anyways, I don't want to get into that. Yeah, whatever, man.